Hey, what's up, guys? It's me, ya boy, the Barca, Nax, here to give you an update on the Week 1 Tournament of Power by Hey Joe Gaming MTG Arena Tournament. And we are now in the top 8, ladies and gentlemen. And since we are in the top 8, we're gonna do a semi analysis. So, by the time of recording, Arnel and Akim had already played their match and Arnel going on top against Akim 2-1. And we're gonna look at both of these decks and let's analyze what and how it happened. So Arnel with them Sharks of Invention. It's a Fires deck with the Karuga as companion, and it has the lovely flavor of having Kronos on the sideboard. This is for Lurus decks, yes, and Trostani Discordant against Agent decks, and they have their own version of Solar Blaze against. Yeah, I think. Yeah, most of the aggro decks have higher power, especially mono red and mono black, which uses the banner, the Obosh decks. Yes, and we have Legion Warboss against the Mirror and an extra. Oh no! Yeah, an extra Elspeth conquers it. So it's your Fires deck with Narset of the Ancient Dataway, and it looks like a solid deck, and it went up against Akim's mono red aggro. Yeah, here's the one. So it's an Obosh deck, meaning it's odd, not odd, not equal peculiar. It's odd converted mana cost, and it plays a Heraldic Banner so that it curves on turn 1 drop, turn 2 2 drops, or 1 drop attack, light up the stage. Turn 3 Heraldic Banner, and another 1 drop. Then on turn 4, you put down Obosh and deal a bunch of damage. So it's like Obosh replaced the Ember Cleave days. So the tech here is in the sideboard. So Tibalt against life gain. Solar Flare decks. Yeah. And here's a spicy one. Okay, Irreverent Revelers. Okay. It's also a creature. It's also odd, and it can destroy artifacts. It can destroy. What's the most relevant? Yeah, Mirror Heraldic Banners. What's the most relevant artifact in the meta right now? So against Arnel, don't put it in. Blazing Volley against cycling decks because of the 3/1 that makes 1/1 tokens, and it pushes through extra damage against blocks, mostly with first strike. So this is against tokens and mostly creature matchups. Cage against Lurus decks, Red Cap Melee against creature decks, and Teferi. Act of Treason against Mutate, which is something relevant lately this week. Extra 2 Bone Crushers and Irreverent Revelers. As you can see on the matchup, Arnold just put in Solar Blazes and Brazen Borrowers, I presume, or the Legion Warboss to match up. With 4 main deck Deafening Clarions, Arnold's deck was prime for them small creature matchups. So that's on table 1, Arnold versus Akim. On table 2, we have Daddy Ivo against Tonton. Daddy Ivo is playing a Esper. No, it's an Azurius Yorion control. So it's control. Yes, it has Teferi. Yes, it has control, and it's gonna it's gonna snowball. Yorion decks tend to snowball. So if you try to stifle it in the beginning, you may have a chance against Yorion decks. But Yorion decks have a tendency to really grind it out and win in the long game. So it has the package. It has Dream Trawlers and the Kazan Ardenvale as your win conditions, and the Brazen Borrower, the creatures, and Shark Typhoon, one of the most played blue card in current standard meta. With the sideboard, let's go to the sideboard, and we have Aether Gust against red decks and green decks, red green decks. Against Dovin's Beto, against the Mirror, against Planeswalkers decks. Then Ashok against. This one's also good against Lurus decks. No, the cycling decks. Because you tend to mill their decks. Omen of the Sun against aggro decks to create blockers and gain 2 life. And their alternate win condition, Archon of Sun's Grace. Because mostly you have around 15 enchantments, which this will tend to snowball also. The term for Yorion decks is snowball. It's just snowball. And against Daddy Ivo, we have Tonton with Lutri, Lingaw Lutri. So Lutri decks. Oh wow, this is spicy Mitabore. This is obviously a brawl deck, but with Lutri. So Lutri is the companion. It constricts you to have only one non-land card in your starting deck with a different name. Yeah, but I've seen decks with Fae of Wishes that puts duplicate copies of a spell in the sideboard, which helps them answer some threats. But Tonton is just a straight up red blue control. Yep, control. Because we have the word for the day is plethora. Tama ba pagkasabi nun? So we have Disdainful Stoke, Essence Scatter, Negate, Quench, Flame Sweep, Ionize, Neutralize, Mystical Dispute. And what this deck does is just the same. Companion decks are like, it's obviously it's centered on the companions, but this one is more of a copy red blue control-ish tempo deck, I think. Tempo control, aggro control, yeah. Because if the opponent does literally nothing with a Goblin Electromancer and stuff around him, you can eventually go for a large expansion explosion, copied it with Lutri. Lutri as a 3-drop end of turn against control decks, it's a Baduzi against the fairy decks. Yeah. No. Yeah, just putting pressure on it. So it's like a red blue flash. Then Planeswalker package plus expansion explosion at the end. So my guess is that fearless forecast. Tonton's deck, if he answers rightly and prevents the Yorion deck, Daddy Ivo's deck to literally snowball into a winning board, Lutri deck, Tonton's deck would have easy time. With the main deck Disdainful Stroke and counter spells, Yorion decks tend to just guys, especially the Luca Yorion decks, they tend to pedal back on counter spells. But since Daddy-O's deck is jam-packed of Mystical Disputes and Absorbs and Dovin's Beatos, it's most likely to, this will be a battle of counter spells and threat assessment. And also, uh, sometimes I think against Teferi decks, Teferi mirrors, Absorbs is meh. But yeah, this is a good matchup. And for me, I'm betting on the not not on the same road deck. So I'm choosing Tonton. I'm sorry, Daddy O. That's my fearless forecast. But the fearless forecast, Daddy Ivo would have a, let's say 60-40 matchup. This is a 60-40 matchup. And on the third table, we have JR Castro against Jopal. Kamusta ka na? With the most interesting matchup of all, it is Sacrifice decks. It has Cauldron Familiars. It has Witches Ovens. But they differ in companions. So JR's deck is an Obosh deck. So this is a Rakdos Obosh deck, which is really, really good with a super tech. I see from the get-go, I see a super tech with Weaponize the Monsters. This is really... Ooh. Because he did not play... Why did he not play the Priest of the Forgotten Gods? So there's a mild tweaking here. So Weaponize is good. It still adds value, especially to Gutter Bones, which does nothing when it dies. So with Judith and Mayhem Devil in the board, and Woe Strider generates tons of damage, plus a turn 5 Obosh with a board of like a Cauldron Familiar, Witch's Oven, and a Mayhem Devil. How do I say it? So this churns out tons and tons of damage, and wants to end the game as early as turn 5. Yes, he has no sort of ramp. That's why turn 5 Obosh would likely dish out bajillions of damage. On the other side of a Sacrifice deck, we have Jopal's deck. Jopal is now playing with a Lurus deck. Lurus, the cutest cat of all. Anyway, Lurus decks. So this is also a Rakdos with a Myers Grass for repeatable removal if Lurus is in the board. Jopal's deck has a Priest of Forgotten Gods, a Witch's Oven, but 0 Woe Strider. So his redundant sacrifice outlet would be those two. Yes. But with Claim of the Firstborn and Witch's Oven, which is really good against mirrors. Especially with a turn 1 drop, turn 2 Priest, then a turn 3 Witch's Oven, and claim the threat, swing, sacrifice, and you have like a bajillion. No, you don't need Witch's Oven by that time. So turn 1 drop, turn 2 Priest, then turn 3 you have Crossa, double Crossa, or double Dreadhorde Butcher. You can literally swing the board in one direction. And with 2 copies of Call of the Death Dweller and 3 copies of the Death Dweller, we're expecting a mirror match, which is kind of grindy. But it's always the grind. The grind is really nice. Everybody loves a little grind. So let's go to their sideboards. On JR's deck, Blazing Volley, Claim the Firstborn, Soul's Guide, very good against graveyard decks. Act of Treason, Drill Bit. Ooh, okay. Against lower decks, this is especially controlled. This is a beast of a card. And Irreverent Revelers, a creature that you can sacrifice eventually after you've used his Enter the Battlefield trigger. We also have Act of Treason to replace Claim the Firstborn against bigger, badder creatures, and additional Claim the Firstborn against mirrors. And yeah, it looks good. Oh, Blazing Bali against the mirror also. And oh, so that's why the mono red is also packing Blazing Volleys. And on to Jopal's deck, he has another repeatable removal with Lurus in hand on Deadweight. Duress against Control, Agonizing Remorse against something that you don't want to come back ever. uh, okay, and he chose Embrath Shieldbreaker against the Irreverent Revelers for artifact removal against Witch's Oven. Okay, now I get it. Okay, so yeah, for 1 mana you can react to it as early as turn 1. Also, an additional Myers Grass, Timmeret as your graveyard removal answer, Act of Treason for big creatures, and Parika's Libation for enchantment decks. This looks a very, very spicy Mitabore. And we're expecting a slobber knocker of a match between mirrors, between a worm. Is Obosh a worm? No, against a horror versus a nightmare, cat nightmare. Yes. Even though Lurus is a cat nightmare, she's one of a cutie cat deck. Here there. Anyway, let's proceed to table number 4. Oh, wait. Fearless Forecast. If we base on the sideboard and the interaction of Jopal's deck, Jopal may have a favorable matchup because of Priest of the Forgotten Gods. But JR also has answers for such threats such as Bone Crusher. So it's the first guy who can protect their companions and get to their next step, next untap step or their next turn to win. So mostly that's the matchup, I think. And with the tech of Weaponize the Monsters, JR can recur Gutter Bones and Cauldron Familiar to keep on hitting the opponent. So for like 5 mana, yeah, for 5 mana you get 2 damage, get back Gutter Bones, put it down, sacrifice it, 2 damage and whatever. And that. So this is a 50-50 matchup. Put it on the comments. Who do you think will win? So mostly some of the games, especially game 2, game 3, and table 2, 3, and 4 may play later. So right now it's still not updated as of this recording. So we head on table 4. Table 4 we have Big Boss, MTGA Joe Gaming, Alfie versus Big Daddy Yo, Daddy Clyde against a very unique matchup. Anyway, so there, much better. Asan ako? Ayun. I'm sorry. So we're back on table 4. Table 4, we have Big Boss Alfie against Daddy Clyde. Big Boss Alfie is equipping his tried and tested Jeskai Fires. So this is a Keruga, the Macro Sage Fires deck. There's no tech in the main deck. It's what you expect in a main deck Jeskai Fires deck. But I see a Ruinous Ultimatum on the side, which is spicy. And the capacity to cast it is not here, but with the fires. So they put it against mirrors, against fires mirrors. Dream Trawler against aggro decks. This will ruin your day. Robber of the Rich tech card against lower decks. Mystical Dispute and Mono Red aggro. So this looks spicy with 4 main deck Deafening Clarions, 0 Shatter the Sky, 0 Shatter the Sky. So they're just wanting to just clear the board on turn 3, turn 4 just put on fires and go crazy on everybody in its path. So this is your Just Cause Fires deck, and it's looking good. But let's look at a spicy one by Daddy Clyde. Daddy Clyde is doing Bant Gyruda Blink. Spicy. So we have at least one Keruga, two Kerugas, one Lutri, one Lurus, two Obosh, and one Yorion, and one Gyruda. It's the battle of the companions, ladies and gentlemen. So this is a even blink Gyruda. So this is bad. So it uses Gyruda as a companion. So it means that all the cards in his deck are even, and so when it enters the battlefield, each player puts the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard. Put a creature card with an even converted mana cost from among those cards onto the battlefield under your control. So when you put it in the battlefield, you skim through your deck. You hope to put in Spark Double. That's the old iteration of Gyruda decks. So they churn out like 5 Gyrudas. So 1/6/6 and 4/7/7s in one turn. Then on the next turn, you just go to town with them, having big beaters by as early as turn 4. Yes, I have experienced Gyruda decks Simic wise, and with this build, you can actually play Gyruda as early as turn 4. So it's like a fire stack, but it needs its ramp early. So ramp is key. With 4 growth spirals, 3 migration paths, and 4 paradise druids, there's exactly 11 sources of ramp for you to go from turn. So turn 2, yeah, turn 2 you put a ramp. Turn 4, no, turn 2, turn 3 you ramp. Then turn 4 you put Gyruda. And but this is banned. So the white creature that he's put in is Dream Trawler, Elite Guard Mage, and Charming Prince. So this is 2-drop along with Paradise Druid that creates redundancy with blink effects. So it could blink another target. You could gain 3 life and you could scry. This is a Swiss knife of 2 drops. So so if you have a Fibble Tip, if you have an Elite Guard Mage or a Dream Eater, you can always Charming Prince to blink that other creature and gain value from it. So this is more of a value deck. And since there's no cyclers, this deck is really positioned in a way that has a good matchup against some of the decks in the top 8. With the sideboard of Vadergas against Mono Red and more against red and green decks, Destiny Spinner as an additional threat early game, and against control decks, and Devout Decree against black and red, and Dovin's Veto, because it's banned, you can cast it with a good mana base of 26 lands. You just need your 6 lands or your 6 mana as early as turn 4. You can also do it, it's Sure Ball turn 4. That's the fastest that you can do. It's a turn 4 combo deck. And shifting Ceratops against any blue decks that gets in the way. So this is your Blink Garuda decks against Jeskai Fires. So let's have an analysis on their matchup. Jeskai Fires is just a deck that just does one thing and one thing alone. It's just going forward, putting threats by turn 3, turn 4. Then eventually it snowballs into a double Cavalier of Flame, or a Kenrit, the Cavalier Flame, and dealing out a massive amounts of damage by turn 5. Yes, turn 5 indeed. While the Ban Garuda deck is like a casino deck. So if you churn it out on turn 4, you play Garuda, you either get a Thassa or a Spark Double to keep generating value out of it. And with a well placing, as I mentioned, there's zero Shatter the Sky except for Yorion decks, yes. So this one against the 4 Deafening Clarions would have a very hard time. So if Alfie's deck on game 2 can reach on 7, they can easily dispose of big threats. They still have Teferi, and they can bounce. They can stop the tempo of the combo. So mostly the matchup is based on who goes the fastest, who's on the play game 1, and who goes fastest, who combos at fastest. Anyway, so that's your top 8 of week 1 Heijo Gaming Tournament of Power, and that's it. And since here's an update, Arnel winning over Rakim 2-1, and I hope to, if you've reached this part of the video, I hope you put a comment, guess who wins. Let's do like a fantasy draft. Who can guess who can win it all based on the decks and analysis, or who are you cheering for to win week 1, season 1, not week 1, sorry, season 1 of the Tournament of Power. And that's all, folks. This is Nax. Next time we're gonna do an analysis. I'm going to edit it since the tournament is already going on. We need to post this as early as now. So, as always, enjoy your week, enjoy your day, have fun, and see you in the arena. Bye bye bye.